Hello and welcome to WJTS Inform. I'm your host, Bill Potter. Well, some months ago, we had a young man in here on the WJTS Inform program as he was getting ready to go to Hoosier Boys State. Well, he's gone to Hoosier Boys State and is back, and we're going to find out about his experience in this edition of WJTS Inform. His name is Rayce Jones, and Rayce, welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me.
Well, we're glad that you're here. Now, let's find out first a little bit about yourself, then we'll talk about Hoosier Boys State. You are homeschooled, and you're starting school this week.
Yes, sir.
Okay. What do you plan to do? You're a senior, so what do you plan to do when you graduate in May?
I plan on going to college and going into law enforcement.
Okay, law enforcement. Now, you went to Hoosier Boys State, which was held this past June?
Yes, sir.
Okay. What was that experience like for you?
Most people see it as it's a bunch of teenagers trying to run a government when it's actually a lot more. You sort of go from being the civilian who really doesn't know too much about the government, just sort of what people say they stand for, to this is how it really works. This is how, if I was to run, what it would be like.
Okay, so you did go and you stay in the dorm, so I guess it gives you kind of a taste of college life too, of what that's going to be like.
Oh, yeah.
Was this first time out on your own like that, staying?
No, I've been to a couple other things that were similar.
So you kind of were used to that part of it. You didn't get homesick, did you?
No.
Okay, all right. Well, that's an important thing. All right, let's talk about what you did learn about government. How does Hoosier Boys State work? It's Hoosier Boys State, so is it looking at government on a state level?
Essentially, it's run at a state and county level. Well, you're separated into two parties, and from there it's run sort of as its own government in a way. Some positions are assigned, others people run for. I personally got knocked out pretty early on, but I learned quite a bit through that.
What did you run for?
I ran for sheriff.
Oh, yeah?
I got knocked out by someone because he was better at campaigning.
And that's a huge thing to learn right there. I think people don't realize what it takes to actually go out and get votes.
People think you put your name on the ballot, that's about it. When really you have to go out, you have to make flyers, you have to campaign, you have to earn people's votes. Because most people, if they just hear your name, they're more likely to vote for you than the person who just randomly shows up on the ballot.
Do you know how many people went to Boys State? How many boys were at Boys State?
I believe it was somewhere around 500.
Okay, so that's a pretty good amount of people right there. And it was held at Trine University?
Yes, sir.
Okay, in Angola, Indiana. So you went from one corner of the state to the other corner of the state.
It was a long drive.
Well, how long is that? Like 8 hours, 6 hours?
5 or 6 hours at least.
Okay. What was something that you learned at Hoosier Boys State that you didn't think about learning when you went there? It wasn't something you were looking to learn, but something you did pick up.
Well, when I got there, I was thinking more on the government aspect, when actually they have a lot of classes. I went to a law enforcement class where they brought in, I believe it was state police, city police, conservation officers, people like that. I think they even had a firefighter in there, which was very interesting. I did not expect that, and I learned a great deal from that.
So for you, it was probably even more exciting because you planned to go into law enforcement, and here you got to hear law enforcement.
Definitely.
So you still want to be in law enforcement, even more so, or?
Oh, a lot more.
What made it more enticing now to be in law enforcement?
Well, I pretty much just knew the basics about law enforcement. There are people who went around, caught people who were doing stuff wrong, but now I got to sort of specify what I wanted to go into. I'm right now looking to either go into maybe state police or become a conservation officer.
That's especially if you like the outdoors, conservation officer is a great way to go. Why should other young men your age consider going to Boys State? Why should they even try? What is important for them?
Well, most people, they grow up and they have a basic knowledge of the government. They see this person stands for this person stands for this. I think it's important, if you really want to know how the government works, that you go in and you actually take part in it. In this case, at least trying to run for something, you'll get a basic idea of how it works, what they have to go through, what some people are willing to do that others won't.
Well, it also makes you a well-rounded individual, and you get things to put on your resume, which then helps you get into college and scholarships.
Wabash has a really good scholarship for that I went over the weekend. I mean, you can't go wrong with that.
Sure, that's great. Okay, now I'm sure you want to thank the American Legion.
Oh, definitely. The American Legion, Monty Buchanan. I mean, I really enjoyed it. I cannot say how thankful I am. It was just a good, it was a great experience all around.
Now, you had to be nominated, and then you had to obviously win, but when does that process start? When did you start thinking about going to Hoosier Boys State?
Well, to be honest, my brother went there, and ever since that, I wanted to go.
Okay. Now, this is something for juniors, correct? Between the junior and senior year?
Yes, sir.
So they should contact their local legion and say, I'm interested in going to Hoosier Boys State. Is that around April that they need to start doing that, or is that March?
I'd say March.
Okay, around March or so they need.
Maybe even before.
Okay. The sooner the better. The sooner you get your name in the docket, the better off you are.
Exactly.
Okay. Anything else that you'd like to add about your experience at Hoosier Boys State?
I think that if you really want to learn how the government really works, rather than just what TV says, you'll go to Hoosier Boys State. You'll see how people really act in the government, and not just what they put on for a speech. I'd also like to thank the American Legion again.
Okay, well, once again, Rayce, congratulations on being a candidate to Hoosier Boys State and for going through it and getting it back. And you came back all in one piece.
Yep.
And a much better individual, I'm sure, right?
Exactly.
Tell us who your parents are and where you live.
My parents are Forrest Jones and Donna Jones. We live now in Velpen, Indiana.
Oh, in the big town of Velpen.
Exactly.
Okay, all right. Well, thank you very much for being on Inform.
Thank you for having me.
And we congratulate Rayce Jones, the returning candidate from Hoosier Boys State. And if you have any young men that you know of between their junior and senior year that are interested in Hoosier Boys State, they should contact your local American Legion. Thank you for watching WJTS Inform. We are local people watching local people.